Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Aunt Patsy was a redneck from Georgia, and she went to the sheriff to tell him Uncle Joe was missing. He said to the sheriff, can you give me a description of him? The sheriff asked. Well, Aunt Patsy said, he's short and bald and skinny and wrinkled and wears false teeth. She said, come to think of it, most of him was missing before he was. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, call in right now on a Monday. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Good morning to all of you. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and also some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. And right now, without further ado, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jerry. God bless you for calling in this morning. I really appreciate it.
You bet. You have a wonderful morning, and I'm going to put the word out one more time this time, if you don't mind. Lunch Bunch is Thursday.
As we've been saying. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it very much. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we, evidently some people called Jerry last week and says, well, we haven't heard when Lunch Bunch is. I've said it probably 2 or 3 times every day last week. Lunch Bunch is this Thursday at Denny's, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a little bit. Don't forget our sponsors of our door prizes, Smith's Food King, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, and Stokes Groceries. Don't forget that. Right now it's time for our weather, and the weather is brought to you by our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh my goodness, they have got everything, whatever you need to make your house a home. All the home decor items, kitchen construction, carpet and flooring, everything. And the number to call is 678-6945. I'm kind of concerned. I don't want any more rain for a while. Gina, what's the weather going to do?
Spring weather for most of this week, but it's not going to be too shabby. Looks like mostly sunny skies as we kick off today. High of 63 tonight, low of 42 tomorrow. It is going to be mostly cloudy, slightly breezy, but hopefully no rain showers. High of 63 with an overnight low of 43. Back to partly cloudy and 65 for Wednesday. Thursday, mostly sunny and 67, and maybe for the weekend a few rain showers. Highs are going to be at the low 60s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I tell you what, my arena on, what was it, Friday, I think last week, you could have floated a boat from the north to the south end. It was wet. And the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Hey, by the way, I want to say thanks to Jimmy Flowers for sending me the information on the Mini-Cassia Auto Collectors Classics on the Grass. It's going to be at the Cassia County Fairgrounds, let's see, on June 4th and 5th. And it's going to be Saturday. The cars will be open for public viewing at 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And on Sunday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Everybody interested in bringing a vehicle, contact Gary Ennis at 670-5055 or Earl Simpson at 312-2469. I'll be having a lot more about that with my dear friend Jimmy Flowers as the days go forward. Now, also I want to remind you about Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You know, I've been taking my old Rumply Crumplies in there for many, many years, and I urge you to stop in and see them today. They can absolutely make your clothes look brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and if you prepay, you're going to get a 10% discount. So how about it? Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. Also, we're really fortunate to have SafeLink Internet here at our house, and I urge you to join over 10,000 other customers that are also with SafeLink Internet. Number to call, 677-8000. Sign up today for a one-year contract and receive free installation, and this is the best part, $30 off on your bill for the first 3 months of service. Can't beat that. 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, you call them today. All right, callers are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I'd love to hear from you. I'm just absolutely scared, and I mean this, about what is going to happen with Obama over the next, how many days have we got left of this man? 241 days. I don't trust him. I have no faith in his administration, and I think they're very, very sinister about what is going to happen up to the day of his departure. Blockbuster news came from Vietnam, as in his speech over in Vietnam, Obama nixes the decades-long, as a matter of fact, it's over 50 years long ban on Vietnam having military high-grade weapons. He's lifting the ban. Excuse me. Why? Just like that. And it opens up, I think, an arms race in the Middle East, or the Far East, I should say, and creating more problems with an adversary of ours and an adversary of Vietnam, China, and creates more instability among the power mongers of that area. Why? Why do what he did? And also, this is so maddening and so frustrating that in the conversation and speech that he gave over in Vietnam, and I know I'm partial to this, and so bear with me, but he in a small passing phrase, said something about our missing MIAs and our dead in Vietnam. There was hardly anything said about, please, we need the finalization on the records as to what happened to these people. Please, we need some more missing records on our soldiers that died in action. There was nothing. There was no big push, nothing. One of my very, very dear friends from college is an MIA in Vietnam. And yes, and I make no bones about it, I find this with Obama to be extremely maddening and frustrating, that there isn't more of a push to demand that they give up these records. Instead, he goes ahead and says, well, we're going to appease you, and we're going to let you now get high-grade military weapons. Now, the man is headed for Hiroshima. And I don't know what your thoughts are. My fears are that he will slip in an apology to the Japanese people over World War II's using of the atomic bomb, which stopped and curtailed all of the death and mayhem in World War II. I don't trust this man. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. While I'm waiting for your calls that I hope are coming in, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday, and they have all your cooling needs, all your electrical needs. They've got it all right there. For over 50 years of service and dedication to you in the Magic Valley. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. I'll tell you somebody else you better stop. We saw Thomas at the Twin Falls location last Friday morning at Denny's Restaurant. Oh, my. 611 Overland in Burley, and, like I said, the Twin Falls location at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. We are, like I've been telling you, going to have lunch bunch coming up this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant. You can stop in and have anything you want, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, anytime, all the time, at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant serving you. And by the way, too, again, thank you to Smith's Food King, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, Stokes Groceries for the gift certificates for our door prizes at Denny's Restaurant this Thursday for our lunch bunch. Don't you miss it. All right, let's get some calls started here this morning. Please, I urge you to give us a call and let us know, what are your thoughts about raising and lifting the military weapons ban to Vietnam? And for many of us that had friends, relatives, etc., fighting over in Vietnam, the real kind of a passing over of what happened to many of them. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Is it Vietnam War or Johnson's war? What the problem was is that President Johnson needed to beef up the economy, so he got this thing shored up pretty good.
Well, you can call it what you wish, Keith. You can call it what you wish, but it was a horrendous occasion. Our soldiers, when they came home, were spit upon and they were ridiculed. And I had way too many friends over in Vietnam, many of which did not come back, many of which are still, like I said, MIAs. And I'm bitter over this whole thing. I couldn't go because I was 4F, but I'll tell you something. I don't think our administrations from Johnson way now to Obama have done enough to force the hand of Vietnam to give us the information necessary.
Yes, that is tragic. You know, if you... my father drowned when he was 59 years old in the Snake River. He fell through the ice goose hunting. And until we found his body, I was just devastated. But we were lucky enough to find it. But I can imagine what these folks have went through for the last 40 to 50 years.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It really is.
Well, and, you know, there were movies that were made, and I'm not glorifying any fictional movie. Please don't get me wrong on this. But the movies had portrayed a lot of the thought of Americans, like Rambo, etc., going in to retrieve the missing in action that were still held captive. And, you know, you tell me, can you really make a definitive statement this morning, you or anybody else, that there is not or are not prisoners still being held in Vietnam? Can you tell me that?
Well, I cannot. But I suspect there still is, because they can't release them now because it would leave them with egg on their face.
That's exactly right.
Getting back to Obama, why does he have the right to apologize for something that happened before he was even born, probably?
You know, and that's the thing. I'm not saying that the man will make an apology. I'm not saying that he is, but there's a threat that he might. And, Keith, I am sick of apology tours. I'm sick of apologizing for past history. You can't apologize for the Civil War. You can't apologize for the Revolutionary War. You can't apologize for anything in World War I or anything that happened during the Korean conflict. It's not your right, it's not your generation, and it shouldn't be apologized for.
Yeah, and bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that was something that was necessary, but that's the only thing that I can think of why I liked Harry S. Truman, is because he did make that decision, and I'll tell you what, that probably harmed him the rest of his life to have to do that.
Yeah.
But trust me, he saved a lot of lives by doing that.
I agree. I totally agree. And Keith, I always look forward to your phone calls. See you at Lunch Bunch, my dear friend. God bless you. Thank you.
Hey, bye-bye.
All right. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please. I want to remind you, while I'm waiting for your call, what do you think about this kind of a tour? Why? Why is he doing this? Okay, you can come up with some standard, the obvious answers, but I really want to know why he went to Vietnam, why he lifted the military ban, why it wasn't pushed more about our MIAs. Caller, I appreciate your call. Stay with me. I'll get this commercial. I'll be right with you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I am going back over there again this afternoon. What time's the appointment, Deanne? 1 o'clock? Yeah, 1 o'clock at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And they can help you, they're helping me, get back to being you. All you have to do is call for an appointment, 678-1191. Exercises, sports medicine, hydrotherapy, pool, it's all there. Headed up by Nick Greenwell and all of the physical therapists, excellent people at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Call for an appointment at 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, sir. And aren't they great people over there? They helped me about 3 years ago with a pinched nerve in my neck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I went in there the other day, last Monday, and I'm set up to go every Monday and maybe increase that a little bit. But, boy, old Nick and the rest of those staff, I'm not saying this to give them an elongated commercial, but it's the truth. They know their stuff.
They do. So, now back to subject at hand. The bomb on Hiroshima was a bad thing, but...
No, wait a minute. Why do you say that? Whoa, Doug, hold on a minute. Why do you say the bombing on Hiroshima was a bad thing? I want an explanation on that. Why?
Okay. It was bad for the civilians, that lost their life. It was sad instead of bad. I should have said a sad thing. But it saved so many lives. Had they not done it, we'd have probably still been fighting, trying to take over the mainland of Japan, because they had the civilians geared up to fight. They had the generals were wanting to go down dying. Yeah. So they were going to do anything and everything to defend their land, which I admire them for that. And you take with ISIS now. We're pussyfooting around. We're tiptoeing with them. If we'd go over there and where their headquarters is in that one town, and just take it out, it would change their attitude in a hurry.
Well, to give a summation of what you just said, I'm glad you changed the word bad to sad. And it is always sad, extremely sad, when there's a loss of human life, many of which were in private citizenry, not connected with the military, etc. But I wouldn't have said bad, because you know what? It was an elongated war. It had already gone on, and there were thoughts, and there were also modes and methods that were being discussed on the Eastern Front with Germany, Hitler, and also on the Western Front of the war over in Asia with Japan, that had we not done what we did, they could have had the perfection of those terrible, terrible weapons, and we would have been subjected to that same sad day.
Exactly. Had they had their hands on the same weapon we had, it would have been used also.
Absolutely.
And so that's war. Unfortunately, if you're an innocent civilian that dies in war, that it's sad for your family. I don't wish it on anybody, but It's a fact, and you fight a war to win it. You don't go into a football game to come out as a tie. You don't go into a baseball game to just play the game and come out as a tie. You go in to win it.
That being said, though, those kind of thoughts and thinking did not take place during the Vietnam era. It was nothing more than a chess match of back up, take the hill again the next day, take it back up, and take the hill again the next day. It was a ridiculous way of warfare and a complete waste of human life and misery. And to have Obama go over there right now and basically say nothing about the MIAs and the missing soldiers' records, etc., I'm just absolutely sickened by this.
I am too. That man has showed his true colors where he stands, and it surely is not with Americans.
Well, he never had my respect, and he's not going to get any of my respect. Doug, I got to tell you, I was criticized pretty hard the other day on a phone call that I finally had to terminate by saying, you have a right to your opinion, sir. I wish you would voice it on the air and show some courage, and I have a right to my opinion, of which I do voice. But I am sick and tired of taking calls on weekends, Saturday afternoon, diminishing me and trying to put me down with no gut pattern to show it on Monday during the show.
That's true. If you actually feel that way, you have a right to stand up and say it. And by George, come on the radio, stand up and say it, and back your thoughts with some facts and why you feel that way.
It's always really interesting to me. At 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon, I get a call on a Saturday. I'm far removed from being on the air on Saturdays, and really chastised me. That showed a lot of courage.
Yeah. And the Vietnam, the people that come back from there, the soldiers and that, I am of that era. I don't know why I didn't get drafted. I was, in that drafting era, my lottery number was 50.
Yeah.
So I was planning on going in, and they never did call me. So I don't know if I lucked out or not, but I admire the guys. I have a lot of friends that were over there.
Yeah.
And I have a few friends that didn't come back.
Mine too.
Like
Mine
everybody
too.
of our age.
Doug, I got to run and do a commercial, but thank you very much. I appreciate it, my dear friend. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my, they have the equipment to get the job done right anytime, all the time. And 3 locations to serve you in Jerome on South Lincoln, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. I mean, they have all the equipment like the Bobcats. They've got special prices and great financing on rental units. Come out and check the skid steers, lots of rental equipment for sale and for lease, including all the Doosan and the Bobcat and the Coyote and the Walker lawnmowers. Absolutely the best. You be sure and check it out today at Barry Equipment and Rental, and they're located on South Lincoln in Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Well, good morning, caller. How are you today?
Well, I'm great, Zeb. How are you?
I'm good. Go ahead, sir, please.
As you know, you'll know who this is when I tell you, I fought several tours in Vietnam, and I was never in the rear with the gear. I was out mixing it up with the enemy almost every day in the jungle for 2 years. I watched a lot of my friends die. I watched a lot of my men die. And to see this man go to a communist country and tell them that he will lift a ban on weapons. Why does he have to do that? Why don't we have a food trade or something like that? Vietnam is one of the largest producers of rice in the world. China and Russia can, like they've done all along, give them weapons.
Yeah.
Barack Obama is an evil man who hates this country.
Well, let me interrupt you right here.
It makes me sick.
Let me interrupt you right here, because I do know who this is, and I highly respect you, and I commend you on your service to our country. But real quick, because I'm running late, I got to get a commercial break in, and I got another caller waiting. But Mike, tell me, what I said this morning so far, am I right or am I wrong that the way he glossed this over, it was a slap in the face?
Of course it is. You know, to this day, I have horrible feelings about coming home from that war and having people that I admired, that were my friends, spit in my face and call me a baby killer. And you know, when we left Vietnam, and it was never on the news, when we left Vietnam, when the communists took over, they killed millions of people. And who they didn't kill, they put in what they called re-education camps.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, if we continue to let this crap happen, it's going to happen here.
I got to run, but I certainly appreciate and respect your remarks this morning. Thank you for calling in. God bless you, my friend. Thank you.
You too, Zip.
Thank you very much. Caller number 2. Now, listen, please, have the patience to work with me here just a minute. I got to get these in. I'll be right with you, I promise. Don't go away. Want to remind everybody about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. It's the only locally owned and independent hearing health care practice in southern Idaho. All the more reason for you to contact the lovely doctor, Dr. Christine Pickup, for a hearing screening today. They know, they care, and they understand how to help you with your hearing problems. The number to call for an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You call them today. Caller number 2, real quick before I go to Sophie's Cinnamon Roll giveaway. Your call, please. You're on the air.
Zeb, your last caller is a fine gentleman and absolutely right on. I called before I listened to him to mention that any time we allow arms to go out of this country, and I've always felt this way, is we're shooting ourselves in the foot. As simple as I can say it.
Yeah.
And one instance that comes to my mind this morning during this is as the Germans were taking over France, the French failed to give them a part of their naval fleet. And when they didn't exchange that fleet to the Brits just went into the harbor and sank it. And just to use that as an idea to throw out there. We just can't afford to hand guns and arms over to other countries.
Well, all it's going to do, in my opinion, is increase the volatility of a major onslaught against Vietnam from either China or Russia. The idiocy of what is being done now to lift the ban is absolutely apprehensible to me, but also the glossing over of our MIAs and our dead during Vietnam and not demanding more information leaves me with a very chilled feeling against a man that I already don't like.
I had those same feelings, I think it was last night or the night before when I heard this was going on.
All right, Earl. Thank you very much for your call as always, my dear friend. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, sir. We're going to give away right now a half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, what a bakery. Oh, my goodness, what a restaurant. You're going to love it. And all you have to do, if you're the first-time winner of these cinnamon rolls, is call over and let them know when you're going to be in there to pick them up at 436-0354. Here is the question. It's an easy one. First-time winners only. The Oakland A's baseball team. The Oakland A's baseball team. What does the A stand for? The Oakland A's baseball team. What does the A stand for? Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
It stands for athletics.
And who is this?
Aaron Higgins.
Aaron Higgins?
Yes, sir.
You are going to enjoy a half dozen cinnamon rolls, and I'm going to tell you something, Aaron. You better share them. They're delicious. All you have to do is call over there and let them know when you'll be coming into Sophie's Chatterbox, okay?
Thank you.
All right, sir. Aaron Higgins is the winner. Oh, my. Of delicious cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox. Congratulations. A's stands for athletics. I could have asked some other questions about that too, but very interesting story about the Oakland A's previously from another area of the Midwest, Kansas City, as a matter of fact. And I used to have all the baseball cards from that team back in Kansas City. Anyway, we'll get more into that later on. I also want to remind you what's going on at Redder's Showcase. Have you heard at 2611 Overland in Burley, they're going to be having their annual Memorial Day sale. It starts on this Wednesday and goes through Memorial Day on May 30th, and special hours from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and great buys like Serta mattresses and box springs and twin mattresses for just $99.95. Are you kidding me? And queen adjustable beds starting at just $1,099. Oh, and lots of great deals with up to 12 months, same as cash on approved credit. Redder's Showcase, big Memorial Day sale. Don't you miss it. Also want to remind you, too, about Lennox Home Comfort Systems, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Lennox Home Comfort Systems, of course, offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Call them at Ramsey's 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey's and Lennox can save you money. All right, do I have another call waiting? If not, I'll ask for some more calls.
Yes, sir.
All right, buddy, thank you. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is kind of putting the cart before the horse, because we don't know what Obama's going to say over in Hiroshima. But being that I don't trust the man, or even like the man a smidgen, nothing, I don't trust that he won't somehow work in an apology to the Japanese people. I don't care what the networks say. I don't care what his handlers say. I don't trust Obama. I think he's going to do something that is going to minimize us. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You said something in your opening dialogue to this subject that high-grade weapons, that really disgusts me, because our military is helping to cannibalize the planes down in the Arizona graveyard.
Good point, my dear friend and good lady. I appreciate that, because it's true. You know, why are we subjecting our soldiers to second and third class, our Air Force, our Navy, our Marines, the Army on the ground, and yet you can bet your bottom dollar that the goods and services that are sent overseas are going to be number one stamped USA priority.
I think he's trying to hit every golf course in the world, or every country in the world, and I would just as soon that man say, you know what, I'm going to Vietnam to play golf. Well, good, and don't do anything else while you're there.
Yeah,
don't play around the golf, and if you're going to spend our money on a trip there, then just keep your mouth shut.
Well, let me ask you quickly, what are your thoughts, honestly, about a maybe apology to Japan?
No. They didn't apologize to us, and we don't need to apologize for saving the world.
I had family, my uncles and others, that fought over in the Asian theater of the Japanese War, and I remember as a teenager trying to talk to them, and there were very few of them that wanted to give too much information. But one thing that stands out glaringly clear when I was a teenager, like at Thanksgiving or whatever, and we asked questions, my Uncle Harmon was very, very vocal about he was glad they dropped the bomb and ended the war.
Exactly. Sometimes you have to go to extreme measures to put an end to something, whatever it is.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you for your question this morning. God bless you. Thank you much.
God bless you, too.
Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Zeb, I agree with you 100% this morning. I worry about the gentleman that's going over to Japan. What will happen? I have no idea what he's going to say. But an apology for that, then let's have them come back and apologize for starting that thing war. I was there between Korea and the Vietnam, and I can tell you that what he's doing is opening up every wound that was ever given.
Well, you brought it up, and I'm going to highlight on it. Number one, is there going to be an apology from Japan for the family members that were laying in their beds on that early morning, December 7th? Is there going to be apologies for people that were mechanics working on ships and working on airplanes when they were bombed to smithereens? Is there going to be an apology to those families, Bert? No, there's never been one, and I, for one, absolutely am appalled that this man has already apologized on numerous occasions, and I'm very worried about this one.
Well, it seems like every time we get things corralled, he goes over to Iran and gives them everything they wanted. What's wrong with making these countries live to the mark that they had? They knew what happened.
You have been involved in politics most all of your adult life, and you, of all people, can see that this is going to open up a Pandora's box of, oh boy, we've got new military weapons. Oh boy, we don't have to take any guff from anybody, and it's just going to be an arms race in Asia that absolutely could be another tinderbox.
Well, I just worry about it. I don't know why I worry about it, Zeb. I'm past it. I should be worrying about what's on the other side of the bale when they plant me in the ground out there. Maybe that's what I ought to be worrying. Being a better man than what I am. But I'll tell you, I am concerned how he's running around the whole. I don't know what's going to happen between now and November.
Yeah.
I'd like to see his itinerary for that length of time.
You know, wait, well, don't go away from me just a minute. Give me a short answer on this, and then I'll do the weather and get that other caller in. But really, he has 241 days left in office. 241 days. And I have heard from various people back east, Bert, people that I know and trust in Washington, D.C., and also New York and other think tanks. They are very concerned about that executive power and the abuse of it that he's still going to try. Your thoughts?
Well, I think I just tremble to think of what he could do and what he's promised along the way that he's going to do. It'll happen, Zeb, and that's short answer.
All right, God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Former representative and one of my dearest friends, Bert Stevenson. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Quickly.
Good morning, Zeb. I think that it's absolutely insane what he's been able to get by with and the things that he's apologizing for and the people that he is more than willing to help. It has been proven over the last few years. This guy is very destructive towards this country. And boy, he sure does not need to be in the presidency. He does not need to be in the government anywhere. Anybody with his attitude and his opinions absolutely does not support the United States of America.
Jerry, very well stated, my friend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And, you know, I would like to make one more comment there. My dad served in Japan during World War II. He was one of the first ones that went in there. And he's seen some horrible, horrible, horrible things. he could hardly ever talk about that all his life.
Right.
We had pictures of some of the things he's seen, and they were horrendous. I'll get out of your way.
All right, Jerry. You're always welcome. Thank you very much. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask your patience. Stay on the line. I'll do the weather really fast and then have you on the air. Stand by. Our thanks go out to the Urgent Cares with Kyle James and his staff at Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland in Burley, right across from Walmart. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue in Twin Falls near Kmart. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, don't worry about it. Major care at the urgent care centers. You better believe it. Quicker, less expensive. They can and will help you. Here's Gina with the weather.
Spring weather for most of this week, but it's not going to be too shabby. Looks like mostly sunny skies as we kick off today. High of 63 tonight, low of 42 tomorrow. It is going to be mostly cloudy, slightly breezy, but hopefully no rain showers. High of 63 with an overnight low of 43. Back to partly cloudy and 65 for Wednesday. Thursday, mostly sunny and 67, and maybe for the weekend, a few rain showers. Highs are going to be in the low 60s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by a wonderful sponsor. I just think the world of Kyle and his fans and his friends and everybody else of the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care in Twin Falls. Don't worry, minor emergencies, they can help you. Major care. Caller, thank you very much. Good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, I don't believe that we owe Japan an apology whatsoever. And if he does apologize, I think he better go back in history and look at the war. They bombed Pearl Harbor. They never apologized for it. They took over the Philippines, and if you read the deal, and I had a father that was over there, and when they did, they marched our their prisoners of war on the Bataan Death March.
Right.
And there's nurses and our soldiers. And when they fell in place and couldn't make it anymore, they in place. I don't believe we owe them people one bit of apology.
I want to interrupt you right there, and I want to ask you to stay on the air with me. But the words, and I use these words because I think they're effective, and I think they've been said by so many great people, much more than myself. War is hell. But we are not in a position right now, nor should we ever be put in a position to where we, the United States of America, our soldiers, our nurses, everybody connected with our military, should ever be made to be embarrassed for what they've done in serving this country. And Obama right now holds the key to that possible embarrassment by what he says over in Hiroshima. Would you agree?
I do, Zeb. And the thing that gets me, and then he does this thing in Vietnam, and you look at how they treated our POWs, and that he's slapping our military people that we owe more to them than we'll ever owe to him in the face every time they turn around.
I absolutely commend you on your verbiage. It was well said and stated, sir. Thank you. Please call me again. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you. You know, okay, all right. Maybe there's some very profound experts out there that can give me a guarantee as to where my college buddy is in Vietnam. It never was reported. MIA or is he a POW? And here's what I would have said if I were the President of the United States. I thought about this all weekend. Oh, you want weapons, do you? Because you feel that you're in a very unstable environment right now with China, Russia, etc. Well, I'll tell you what. After I go back home and review with Congress what needs to be or should be done, we'll get back with you. But in the interim, you have 30 days to make a confirmation on MIA and POW records that are satisfactory to our government. Get it done. And get it done now. We are not acting like a guard dog on the property. We're acting like an old whipped hound that's under the porch and afraid to come out. I don't like that kind of attitude. Now, there are those in the audience that criticize me. You're too right-wing. You're too in favor of absolutely taking action and all this. You've got to slow down. You've got to look at things. Why? You have to be more amenable. I don't have to be anything. I know that I lost relatives in various wars and conflicts. I know that I lost a lot of good friends over in Vietnam. Friendships in college and high school that can never be replaced. Okay? Why? And how? And hopefully never again. But politics is dirty. Politics also means money. And I don't trust what has happened in the past. And I certainly, after all the conflagration and the deaths and the maiming, want a president to stand up and make a speech and say, we're really sorry, Japan. We should have never unleashed that atomic bomb. I am so fearful that's what he's going to do. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
Upset.
Me too. You know, in my short time on this planet, I've seen quite a few presidents. You know, they've all made mistakes, but none that I can think of, well, I can think of probably one or two, has ever done what this so-called human being is doing to our country. What right does he have to apologize for our men and women going over there trying to liberate a country, and in return we have 18,000 MIAs and POWs that have not been accounted for? Who gave him the right to go over there and to possibly apologize for what happened over there?
Well,
his right. He needs to be in prison.
You of all people, along with your husband George, have absolutely dedicated your lives, your energy, and yes, a lot of your own money to the POW MIA movement in this country that we will never forget. And to talk to you and George about this subject, I am a babe in toyland because I don't have nearly the knowledge you have. But I will ask you this quickly, Donna, and then I've got to do a commercial break. It must be so frustrating for the years that you've been working with the POW MIA to still not have the correct or finalized answers. And then this government, our government, with Obama, makes an appeasement with Vietnam, and I think that should have never occurred.
Oh, he has no business doing that. And, you know, doing the work that we have done, I have become a member of a very special family. These people, you know, you get to meet these POW families, excuse me, and to make it short, their stories are horrific. We've got very dear friends that were part of the liberation, and to listen to that, Russell Smith is one of them, a great man. George Faulkner is another, I'm sure they won't mind me telling. To listen to their stories and to watch the tears, you can't imagine the torture and the shame that those people went through.
Absolutely.
And are still probably, some of them may even be going through today. We don't know. We don't know if they're dead or alive.
Donna, I hate to curtail this conversation, but as you know, the clock is my judge, jury, and executioner. I've got to run. Thank you so much.
You bet. You have a great day.
All right, thank you.
Keep doing the good work you're doing.
Thank you. I want to remind everybody about Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, with all your lumber packages. Oh, you're going to remodel your house, are you? Well, then you better get in and talk to Zach over at Minnecasia Sales. And they've got all the shingles, all the metal and asphalt shingles. They've got it all for you over there, including the western windows. Oh, my. Anything you need, right there at Tartar Farm and Ranch, gates and panels, all of it at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. You stop in. They're the sponsor of Dr. History on Tuesdays tomorrow at 10:06. Caller, I'll be right there. I'm hurrying. Don't forget, too, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you absolutely with the best of tire buys right now for summertime travel. Oh, my. People are getting ready to leave town Memorial Day weekend. We'll make sure you're safe on tires that really are going to be good for your driving. They've got the best of tires, many of which are on sale right now. They've got that free pre-trip safety check. They've got shocks and struts. They've got front-end alignments. No good to be going off into the barrel pit. No need to. They've got all your batteries. They've got it all, including the best of service at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got exactly 30 seconds. Go, please.
I will be very short. I would like to say that Russell is having a urinary tract infection, and they finally figured out what the problem is, and they're working on him good. And I want to add one more name to George Faulkner, Russell Smith, and that's Mike Campbell, who called in earlier. He is also a very great patriot of this country and a wonderful person.
Very well stated, Jerry, and thank you for that update on Russell Smith, our hero. Thank you. Got to run to the news is next, and Wheels is going to take us up to news. We'll be back at 9:06. Don't go away. Oh my, here we go. Hour number 2 on a Monday. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good to have you with us. Zev at the Ranch, and our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, I mentioned on the program many, many times about dumpsters, and they've got them in various sizes, and whether you need a small, medium, large, or extra large dumpster, they've got them. They'll bring them out to you. You fill them up, and then they'll come and get them. I'm telling you what, there's great, they're handy for like cleaning out the garage, or maybe cleaning out the basement, or even if I get tempted, this whole office might go. Anyway, you be sure and give them a call at Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, call them today. I want to remind you, too, the Old Fishing Hole segment is going to be on Thursdays at 9:12, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, and we're going to be talking about fishing. We're going to be talking about learning how to fish. We're going to be talking about tackle. We're going to be talking about where the big ones are biting. Oh, my goodness, Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, bringing you the Old Fishing Hole on Thursdays. Don't you miss it. Oh, my goodness sakes. Also, real quick, I've got to get this in before we go to our dear friend. I want to remind everybody about our friends over at, of course, Hanson Mortuary. And they're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, the manager, and the staff, and his family. I mean, these are people that really, really care. All you have to do is call them at 436-5636, and they always treat you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. When there's the passing of a loved one, don't forget, they're there to serve you with very flexible hours. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and a gentleman that is absolutely a gentleman and a big help to the seniors and the Burley Senior Center. God bless him. Dennis Babbitt, how are you this morning?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you?
I am great. What is going on this morning?
Well, we're just recovering from our Saturday community breakfast.
Okay.
We had good food, which would be And it's held every third Saturday of the month. And we had biscuits and gravy, pancakes, sausage, biscuits and gravy, pancakes, scrambled eggs. We also had different syrups, and in there they included a roll. But that was $7 for that breakfast.
Wow, that's not bad.
And then, of course, I forgot orange juice.
Right.
But anyway, orange juice or milk. But we're getting a few more families coming out to that. It hasn't been that well attended, whether we advertise it or not. But anyway, this week we've got some good meals. Today we've got pork chops, stuffing, peas and carrots, salad roll, and it says a Texas white cake.
Uh-oh.
I asked the cooks, I said, what's the Texas white cake? They said, well, that's the best white sheet cake there is in Texas, and we've got it.
So they had it flown up from Texas to Idaho, huh?
No, they confiscated the recipe.
I see. You know, Dennis, you've been heavily involved, as I've mentioned on past programs, with the Senior Center. And the one point I want to get out, I am so sick and tired of people thinking, well, they're over 60 and they're a little long in the tooth and gray of hair, they can't do too much. Good heavens, society is missing out on a great venue of help from people that want to work and or have the time to go help.
Yes. We're that baby boomer generation, and
yeah.
There's plenty of us. We're hanging in there.
Hanging in there is right. But you do so much, and you're wrapped up. Give us a general day in the life of Dennis Babbitt. What time do you get up in the morning, and how long are you going? You're like the ever-ready bunny. You're serving people every day.
Oh, I'm usually up 5:30 at the latest. I've been helping a lady clean the bank that had a tumor on the brain.
Oh.
She ended up becoming paraplegic for the time being.
Oh, my.
And so I've been helping her with vacuuming and mopping, emptying the trash at one of our good banks here in town. Then from there, it was usually taking a granddaughter to school. And then here at the Senior Citizen Center, well, after I drop the granddaughter off, I usually go to the gym for a half hour, sometimes 45 minutes. And then from there to the Senior Citizen Center, getting meals ready to be delivered. Then from there, out on the route, delivering. And we're trying to get more individuals involved, especially board members, where they can help with us on these circumstances.
Right. Hey, Dennis, let me
to the center and dropping off our equipment that we have, and usually through by 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Oh, my. Let me ask you this, Dennis. You said about exercising, and I want you to highlight that a little bit. I've only got a minute left, but I want you to highlight this. I think that is something that is vastly overlooked for people that are of their senior years. Exercise is extremely important. Expand on that real quick. I got about 45 seconds left.
That's true. I think a lot of us, when we get to a point where everything hurts, it doesn't work, and anyway, we kind of give up, but I've decided I want to continue to be fit. Everybody says that I don't look as old as I am. I guess part of that might be because not having gray hair, and I may have inherited that. So.
There you go. This man
anyway, appreciate all you and Deanne do.
Well, thank you, Dennis Babbitt, and I understand I'm going to see you around 2:15, 2:30 this afternoon. God bless you, my dear friend, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
All right, thank you. That's what's going on at the Burley Senior Center, Dennis Babbitt. What a nice man. If you don't know him and you don't know the environment of that center, I mean, everybody's welcome to go down there and eat, for heaven's sakes. It is really a nice place with really super nice people. We respect them. Oh, I got to pay some bills here real quick. Let's see, where do we start first? Oh, I told you last hour. Did you hear this when I was mentioning it? Ritter's Showcase. Hello, Guy. At 2611 Overland in Burley, they're having their annual Memorial Day sale. I mean, this is a big, big deal. From May 25th all the way through Memorial Day on May 30th, and they're going to have special hours, and they're going to have great buys like twin mattresses for just $99.95, Serta queen sets starting at $399. Oh, my, many other great deals with up to 12 months, same as cash, on approved credit. You better get in there. Starting Wednesday, Ritter's Showcase, big Memorial Day sale. Don't miss it. Also, our thanks to Lennox and their home comfort systems with our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. All you have to do is just stop in or give them a call. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Oh, my goodness sakes, let's go to the phone line right now, and on the other side of the phone line is a lovely lady at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Here she is, the lovely Miss Vicky. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. It's a little cool out there.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
You know, I got to tell you what happened to me yesterday. I have been running with my temperature gauge on hot and my gasoline gauge on empty for energy this last week. And yesterday, I came home. We were running around after church and everything. And yours truly fell asleep in a chair out in front of my barn. And the sun was coming in. And I tipped my old Resistol and I fell asleep. And all of a sudden, whoo, it got chilly out there, Miss Vicky.
Yes, it did. It's gotten a little cold. We've had, I know in the outlying areas, at my house anyhow, there was frost 2 nights in a row at least.
Well, now...
Oh, there's been a little frost that's happened. I just knew it was going to. It was too cold. You know, we always, whenever the sky's clear, we seem to drop down, even though they say we don't in town. They're usually safer than us poor people out in the country, but I'm sure out in the country there was a lot of frost that hit.
Oh, yeah. All right, now I've got a couple of questions that I've got more than that. I got about 5 or 6 of them that have been mailed in and emailed in for the program this week. Are you ready? Do you have your Vicky's thinking cap on?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First question, it's a good question. And this lady asked, she lives over in the Burley area, and she said, how do or can weed killers damage my plants?
Well, yeah, I mean, weed killers are normally non-selective, so you have to be very, very careful how you put them down. If you're spraying, yes, they can. If it's a broadleaf, they'll kill any broadleaf that they come in contact with. Any little breeze can move them right over into your plants. If you're putting granular type stuff down, that is to keep the weeds from germinating, no, those are safe. They're not going to hurt your plants as long as your plants are up. All those do is stop seeds from germinating. But spray weed killers, Roundup 2,4-Ds, Weed Free Zone, those type of things, yes, those will damage if they get on the wrong plants, that's for sure. Okay.
Boy, you are good. I mean, I can't stump you. I've tried for the last 3 weeks, and I can't do it. All right, another question comes in from a gentleman that says he's been gardening for almost 60 years. And he said, how do I dispose of old pesticides?
They don't like to have them put out into the landfills. I think if you check with the soil conservation and the Department of Ag and that, they have different sites that you can take them and dump them, kind of like the prescription drugs, and they'll take them and dispose of them for you.
Okay.
But they don't like to have you. A lot of times people dumped them in the ground. That wasn't good. and they don't want them in the landfills either. So check with your Department of Ag, like your soil conservation, some of those type of places, and usually they can tell you where there's a drop-off point that you can dispose of them.
All right, thank you very much. Now, here's one that I absolutely pests. Oh my goodness, the mice and the voles and everything. And this person writes in, how do I use copper or sulfur for pest control?
Well, if it's like the sulfur bombs, you're going to put it down in, you find the holes, the mounds and that, and put the sulfur, light the bombs and throw them down and cover it over. And it will go ahead and fumigate all of their trenches and kill them that way. The copper is something that you're going to have to lace something, probably I'm going to say some type of grain or something with it, so they're going to ingest it. That will possibly kill them, but I know sulfur bombs are one thing that you can, they're like little firecracker type things. You just light them, they're a smoke bomb, and you put them down in the trenches, down in the hole, cover the hole over real tight, and let that sulfur penetrate through the trenches.
Okay. All right. Now, this one is lady writes, and she says she's from over in Rupert, and she says, I don't understand about irrigation. I'm new to gardening, and I don't understand the terminology drip irrigation.
Okay, drip irrigation is where you are literally putting water on the exact plant. You're not running water down the row and hoping it soaks into the whole garden. You're not running a sprinkler over the top, to sprinkle the whole garden. You've got a hose going down through your garden with little inserts. You poke little holes in the hose. Sometimes people put drip tubes in there. It monitors how much water goes to each plant. You're watering each plant individually with the drip irrigation, which is a very good way to do things. It supports plants real well, and you're not wasting water by any means.
Yeah, that was a good answer. Boy, you're pretty sharp. Okay, one final question, and then we'll ask you for your tip of the day. What strawberry varieties are good for this area of Magic Valley?
Well, we have one that's called Fort Laramie. That's a real cold, hardy one that I recommend for up in the Albion and Elba areas. It's quite cold, hardy, and has very good flavored berries. Not real large berries, but nice sized berries. We have quinolts that do real well here, and we have one that there's a June bear that's called a honey-o that only blooms in June one time that does real well here. And then we have a hecker, which is one the commercial growers use around a lot. So there's 4 good varieties that work here.
Okay, 4 good varieties. I do have time for one more question, and boy, I want to get this in because the last couple of days, it would rain like the dickens, and then the sun would pop out, and then it would rain like the dickens. And this letter says, what problems can wet weather cause to my plants? I know you've addressed this in the past, but it's a good answer, I think, for again today.
Okay, the wet weather, especially where the temperatures have been as cold as they are, it can cause like cucumbers and squash and some things to what we call damp off. They get too wet at the root. The ground is too cold. The roots just literally almost kind of freeze up. They quit growing, and they turn brown right at the surface of the ground and lay over and die. Cucumbers, watermelon, squash, those kind of things are very known for this in cold, wet weather. They don't like that. They need sunshine. So if the sun comes out and you've still got cucumbers and that, leave them alone. Don't put any more water on them for a while. Let them dry out and let them warm up a little bit and see how it goes. But it also can bring up fungus. You can start getting some blight showing up. You can get powdery mildew showing up because of the high humidity. And as soon as the temperature warms up, that lets the fungus spores come alive that are laying there. And you'll see a lot of powdery mildew start showing up when the sun starts to shine. Boy,
oh boy, she's on top of it, I'll tell you. Okay, it's time for Vicky's Garden Tip of the Week.
Okay, with all of the cold weather we've had and all of the wet weather we've had, everything's just kind of sitting there, kind of not wanting to grow, doesn't know what it really wants to do in your garden. This is the time everybody starts with their foliar feeding fertilizers, their Miracle Grow, that type of stuff. If you're going to use your Miracle Grows, do it of an evening. Don't do it during the heat of the day if we ever get a hot day. And do it in the evening or real early mornings. And also, don't think that just once a month is going to do you any good. Miracle Grow, and that's any liquid, the water-soluble fertilizers, have a very short longevity. They only last about maybe a day or two. So at least feed your garden at least once a week, at least, with your Miracle Grows or your foliar feeds, whichever one you're using. If that's how you're fertilizing, use it at least once a week for the rest of the summer.
Okay. Now, I want to have you brag a little bit about all the inventory you have over at Vicky's Country Garden. What are the hot items right now that people are coming in for?
Well, right now, after the last couple of days, I have a feeling it's going to be tomatoes and peppers. But we do have a good supply still of tomatoes, a good supply of peppers, hot peppers, mild peppers, lots of the different vegetables, all that type of thing. Plus, we still have a good supply of bedding plants to go out, petunias and that type of thing for your yards. Landscape supplies, we've got all the bark, the rock, the landscape fabrics, all of the chemicals to put down to keep the weeds from growing, the chemicals to keep the bugs from growing. You name it, like I say, you name it, we got it, and if we don't have it, by dang, we'll find it.
You know, I want to ask you a question. You said the peppers, and do most of the people that grow peppers around here, I would assume, I shouldn't assume, but I'll ask, is that for like homemade salsa and that type of thing?
Yeah, just a lot of people they do a lot of the peppers just for fresh eating. Sweet peppers, I mean, I can sit down and just eat a sweet pepper with a little bit of salt. A dozen of those. I just love those. But a lot of people do their salsas, and they freeze a lot of peppers for stews and things of that nature throughout the winter. So, but yeah, we have a big selection of hot peppers still. We're only out of a couple of 3 varieties. We still got a real good selection of hot peppers. And everybody likes to put a few hot peppers in their garden just so they can make that good salsa.
One last question here this morning. What about landscaping needs? You know, Deanna and I, we're fanatic about landscaping, and we've done a lot of work here. Have you got all the rocks and everything else?
I've got the Montana River rock, the pretty colored rainbow rock type stuff that, I've got 2 sizes of that. I've got gray granite, which is a nice, inexpensive one that it's the same price basically as bark, and it stays put and it doesn't blow away. And I've got the tan rock. I've got all the different bark in the soil aid. You name it, I've got it. So we've got all the landscape fabric, all different sizes that we can do for you. And it's the heavy commercial grade landscape fabric that's got the guarantee with it and everything. So, yeah, we've got all of that kind of stuff. Tree rings. We've got all types of stuff to get your yard up and going and make it fancy.
Oh, my goodness. This is a lovely lady at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Tell everybody the hours that you're open, Vicky.
We're open from 9 to about 5:30. Usually we're a little later than 5:30 on weekdays. Saturdays we're here from 9 to 5:30. Sundays we're open from noon to 4. Okay.
Any last words of advice or professional tips that you want to leave us this morning?
Well, if you were one of the people that got some tomatoes that got frosted and that, don't jerk them out and panic just yet. If it's only the leaves that got nipped, just pinch those back, and those tomatoes will usually come back and be a stronger, healthier plant. If the stem has gotten blackened and is laying down, then it's time to pull them out and put new ones in. But if it's only just the leaves that got nipped a little bit, just pinch them off of there. They'll put out new leaves, and they'll come back and be good and strong.
Oh, okay, real quick.
Give them a little fertilizer when it warms up. Give them that nice little foliar feed to give them a boost and make them have a reason to live.
Okay, well, now, wait a minute. I'm not a gardener, so I want to understand the terminology. Real quick, nip them back. What do you mean by that?
Okay, just go down and pinch the leaves off. Follow the stem back to where it attaches onto the plant, and just pinch it off right there. It will send out new leaves right at that point. Coming off of that stem.
All right, there she is, the gardening professional. She knows all about it. Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the radio.
That'll work, Sid. Have a good week.
Thank you. I love that lady. She's really not only on the air, but she's really a good friend, and we appreciate her. Oh, my, let's take a look here real quick. Let's ride. I want to get up and have some fun. Well, you'd love to get up in the hills, wouldn't you, with all the, hopefully the rain's going to stop and we can get up and see some blue skies, sunshine, and all that Idaho has to offer. Beautiful land. Oh, it's ours for the enjoyment when you stop over and check out a four-wheeler at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They have their summer hours right now, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they've got 0% financing available on Suzuki. Check it out right now, along with all the watercraft. Oh, yeah, it's going to get nice. It's going to be nice so you can get on the lake with a watercraft. I guarantee it. They've got it all for you over there at Let's Ride, along with the accessories and a great service department, too. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. You stop over and see them today. While you're over there, you might call ahead to Cameron and Siemens Insurance, the professionals in life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They can and they will help you and your family and your business. Absolutely. 436-4424. That's the number to call, 436-4424. Accessible and devoted to serving you, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. All righty, let's go to the phone line right now and say good morning to a lovely lady that's been on our program for a long, long time. Of course, representing the Alliance Defending Freedom, and that's Carrie Kupek. Carrie, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, Zeb. Good morning.
You know, I absolutely look forward to Mondays because you always have stories to give us that are very pertinent and important to all Christians. And give me a little background about what happened to a Christian school in the Cincinnati area. What happened here with this story?
Sure. So first and foremost, local governments can't use zoning laws to discriminate against religious organizations in Christian schools. So that is a pertinent principle that we should all keep in mind as we talk about this case. This is a very basic constitutional principle. But what had happened was in January 2011, city officials in a Columbus area in Ohio had ruled against a school. They had denied the school zoning approval after it purchased a vacant building that would accommodate its need for more space and its growth plans. This is a Christian school. And so we filed a lawsuit challenging that, and we said, hey, look, a zoning regulation that prohibits schools within the zone but permits daycare facilities and other similar uses but is denying this Christian school, that's just not right. That's unconstitutional. That's not fair. And so this led up to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit, and this past Wednesday, they reversed the lower court's decision, the decision that had denied the zoning approval for this school. And the case is now going to proceed to trial. And the appeals court rightly understood that federal law prohibits zoning discrimination against religious land use, and that the Tree of Life schools, which is this Christian school in question, they had presented a strong case of this kind of discrimination.
Well, you know, when I read this, and I got to admit that I read it very quickly this morning due to time constraints getting on the air, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand this Tree of Life Christian school had 4 locations, and for simplicity and putting together a singular campus, that's why they went to this one location, and it made sense. It would have saved money. It would have saved time and effort. It was just good common sense, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely good common sense. And the bottom line is that religious organizations and religious people can't be treated as second-class citizens. This is fundamental to our Constitution and fundamental to our First Amendment. And let's keep in mind, as we always talk about on your show, the reason that this country was founded in the first place was so that people of all faiths could peacefully operate according to those beliefs. That's why we're even here and be able to say that we're Americans. And what's interesting is that this Tree of Life Christian school, they had 4 campuses, like you said, and they were getting overcrowded, 660 students. So they went ahead and they purchased a former American Online Time Warning building in Upper Arlington. And the building would allow the school to grow up to 1,300 students more. And it would have also have provided 150 new jobs to that city, as well as tax revenue, greater than that would have been realized from the vacant site. This is a vacant building, yet the city denied zoning approval for the school, saying that it wanted the property to be used by someone who would generate, quote-unquote, more tax revenue. However, meanwhile, that same law that they were using against the school, they were using to allow daycare facilities and other similar uses of equal size that provided less tax revenue than Tree of Life School.
You know, I sit here every week and I have to shake my head and beat my fist upon the table here when I hear these stories, because let's just cut to the chase. The bottom line is that there is a major push. I don't care if it's in Cincinnati, Ohio. I don't care if it's in San Francisco, California, or Jacksonville, Florida. There is a major push that anything to do with religion, Christianity, they are going to try to snuff it out or stymie it. Would you agree with that statement, or am I being too bold?
We have seen a growing hostility towards religious groups and organizations, and it always gets me because, again, these nonprofit organizations and schools, they are contributing so much good to society. It's like the same principle that we've been seeing in this abortion pill mandate case with the Christian colleges and the Little Sisters of the Poor. Why in the world does the government have an issue or a problem or go after the so-called little guy when these are the groups and organizations that are providing the most, some of the most good to our communities and to our world at no cost to the taxpayer? They're the ones who are feeding the poor, the hungry. They're the ones who are educating the next generation. So these are the last people that we should be targeting for discrimination in our society. We should be encouraging them to grow because they provide such benefit for the common good.
In another story that absolutely just made me furious, it was a story about the lack of free speech or the stifling of free speech at California State University, Los Angeles, with the Young Americans for Freedom. Give us the background of what's happening here.
Sure, I'll talk about that. And I just want to reiterate, though, with this Tree of Life School in Ohio, the good news is the federal appellate court has said that it can go on to trial. Okay. So that's a good sign.
Absolutely.
That means that they considered the arguments that we made on behalf of this school as far as the religious discrimination that they're facing right now, and have agreed to let those issues be fleshed out. So that's a good sign. But speaking of another interesting case, like you just brought up, what's going on in California. So Ben Shapiro is a very popular West Coast radio host, and he was scheduled to give a presentation called When Diversity Becomes a Problem at the California State University LA campus on February 25th. This was part of a free speech event organized by Young Americans for Freedom. Sounds like a good title, right? When
Absolutely.
Diversity Becomes a Problem. Interesting, thought-provoking. Unfortunately, university officials attempted to first shut down the event, and then when those efforts failed, and if you can believe it, professors at the school helped incite a mob of protesters to block entry to the venue. Now, Alliance Defending Freedom created a video that shows all this. You can see the protests, you can see the attempted blocks, and it has gotten over 500,000 views in just a few days. So I would encourage any of your listeners to check it out at adflegal.org. Ben Shapiro has posted it on his Facebook site as well. But again, unconstitutional policies, it undermines really the purpose of education. The cornerstone of higher ed is obviously the ability of students to participate in the marketplace of ideas on campus. So the fact that this popular host, and even if he wasn't popular, it's irrelevant. He comes on to talk about a pressing issue about the challenges that the so-called diversity of thought presents on college campuses, and the fact that not only did the university attempt to shut him down, but the fact that professors did. And what kind of example is that showing to their students? And certainly it really calls into question why they went into being a professor in the first place.
You know, I'm glad I'm not in college. I'm glad I'm not back in those days, because I would have been furious when parts of the staff of this college were coming out and saying that Shapiro's topics and views are controversial. Wait a minute. Isn't college a time to try to expand the mind and understand controversial subjects And then also they came out and they said that they would reschedule a more inclusive event. That's a bunch of malarkey. All they want to do is just have more liberalized events. They don't want inclusiveness. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. The irony here is just, it's funny. This is a free speech event promoting diversity of opinion. What did Ben Shapiro face in this Young Americans for Freedom group? Systematic and violent opposition to their event, shutting down free speech. Really, what happened before the event proved the purpose of the event, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this kind of viewpoint discrimination can't stand at a public university. But it's crazy to me. When you think about the facts and you look at the facts, you see how Young Americans for Freedom partnered with Shapiro to host this nationwide speaking tour, college campuses, to discuss free speech in higher ed. 1 week before this event, where all this went down, the university informed him that his topics and views are quote-unquote controversial, and that the student group was going to have to pay a certain amount of money to provide security. Then the school president sent an email to the Young Americans for Freedom group canceling the event and saying it would be quote-unquote best for our campus community that it was canceled. Like you said, then he said we're going to schedule a more inclusive event. But then the student group went forward with the event as planned, and hundreds of protesters, aided by professors and faculty, flooded the student union, physically blocked access to the theater where he was scheduled to speak. And so students had to quite literally enter through the back door. They had to sneak in order to see this radio host talk about free speech. Again, I would check out the video, because you're watching and you're thinking, what in the world is this? This doesn't even make sense. It undermines common sense. It undermines the purpose of going to college and universities in the first place, and it certainly undermines the First Amendment.
Yeah, but we laugh about some of this because it's so absolutely stupid what's going on, but then there's a more black area, a very dark area, if you will, that very much concerns me, is that these kids, these millennials, led by the nose by professors of the left against a capitalistic society, against religion in a society. They have brainwashed these students, and my fear, and you're closer to this than I am, but my fear is that the millennials of today, not all of them, but a great number of them, are absolutely going to walk over a cliff following these people. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's real concern here. I'm concerned about the millennials, and I'm concerned about this generation that's attending college. I'm concerned that they don't understand what free speech is. I'm concerned they don't understand how valuable and crucial freedom is. If we don't have freedom, if we don't have free speech, if we don't have the freedom to exercise our faith, everything else will fall around it. It's really that simple. These freedoms travel together. These are basic to a diverse and democratic society that we enjoy in the United States. And the last thing that we should be doing as a nation is attempting to shut down the ideas of other people, shut down the speech, because before you know it, it'll be turned right back around you, and you'll be shut down.
Absolutely.
And at that point, it'll be too late. The precedent will have been set, and the government will have that power, that unilateral power, to pick and choose who gets to speak and who doesn't, and it will be a government ideology.
Absolutely.
We'll no longer have a free and beautiful society that for so many years we've enjoyed here in the United States, and that so many of our own have fought and died to protect for all of us.
Let me ask you this, Carrie, and I don't think I've asked you this in the past. How do you, on behalf of the ADF, the Alliance Defending Freedom, how do you pick and choose all the number of cases that are thrown up in front of you? What do you do? How do you do it?
We have a team that analyzes requests that comes in, and a number of factors are looked at. Obviously, you're going to look at the facts, you're going to look at the law, you're going to look at what section of the country it's in. But as you know, in Alliance Defending Freedom, we exist in order to protect the rights of people to freely live out their faith. It's that simple. We have international offices, so we're doing this in Europe, in India, in Mexico as well. We're doing this across the country. We believe in freedom, and we, we're an alliance organization, which means we partner with like-minded organizations to accomplish the same goals. We certainly could not do what we do by ourselves. So we work with, like I said, a lot of organizations who have that same passion for freedom. We also work with a network of over 2,000 volunteer attorneys across the country and across the world who give up very generously their pro bono time, and they give up free hours in order to litigate these cases themselves. So this is an extensive collaboration, an extensive partnership, all who see freedom in the big picture and are committed to preserving that for the next generation.
I would assume, and tell me if I'm wrong, that if there are listeners in the audience right now that would like to help contribute and help fund the Alliance Defending Freedom so that you're always there to protect us, the people that are Christians, the people that are involved in maintaining free speech, what can they do and how can they go ahead and send you some money?
They can go to adslegal.org, and they'll see a whole host of ways that they can get involved, and we appreciate support of our ministry friends that makes what we do possible. We couldn't do it without the generosity of so many people across this world, and we're incredibly grateful to them, and our clients are incredibly grateful to them. And we also really appreciate the prayers. We need a lot of prayer, especially with what our culture is facing. We're in a new frontier in many ways with some of the issues that are percolating and bubbling right now, and we very much need prayer. So we appreciate the platform to be able to speak about these issues whenever we can do so.
You know, you used the word percolating. I love that word percolating because that's what you do with these stories. You get my blood percolating every week before we go on the air. God bless you, Carrie Kupek. I appreciate it. Thanks on behalf of the Alliance Defending Freedom. Come back next week. We'll talk to you then.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, take care. That is one really nice lady right there, Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom. And I seriously urge everybody, if you got maybe a little bit of extra cash, if you're going to fund anybody, fund them because they're fighting for our freedom of speech. Thank you very much. Okay, now, let me see where I'm at. Oh, it's time for the weather. I'm really concerned about this weather forecast because I certainly hope we're going to start seeing some sunshine. I certainly hope that we're going to start seeing some drier conditions. I've got my horse is out there in the corral right now wearing water wings, and he's learning how to do the backstroke. Anyway, the weather's brought to you this hour by Ramsey Heating and Electric. And they are offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them today at Ramsey's, 678-0459, and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Here's Gina with the weather.
Spring weather for most of this week, but it's not going to be too shabby. Looks like mostly sunny skies as we kick off today. High of 63 tonight, low of 42 tomorrow. It is going to be mostly cloudy, slightly breezy, but hopefully no rain showers. High of 63 with an overnight low of 43. Back to partly cloudy and 65 for Wednesday. Thursday, mostly sunny and 67, and maybe for the weekend, a few rain showers. Highs are going to be at the low 60s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my, good forecast. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. Brought to you by Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. As I said, all you have to do is give them a call at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I have right now a little bit of opening that I'd love to hear from you. Give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on any of the stories that we've carried so far this morning. Here's another one that I am really, really watching, and I hope that it never comes to fruition. That never comes to fruition is in regard to Hillary Clinton. This woman, absolutely the raucous magpie voice that she has, and the attitude and persona that she puts in front of the news cameras, it infuriates me. And her take and stand on various issues, whether it is the economy, whether it is gun control, whether it is anything to do with our national security, whatever. Gun control is one of the issues that I'm very, very concerned about. This woman absolutely does not like you and I to have the private ownership of guns. Now, you can sit there, Democrats, if you're listening, and you can make 10,000 excuses as to why I'm wrong and she's right. None of them are worth the powder to blow them straight to another location. I am very, very concerned about what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. Right now, we're seeing a division line of 4 and 4. 4 that are basically on a conservative nature, and 4 that are basically very ideologically bent towards liberalism. And with the appointment of one person's ideology, one liberal more on the Supreme Court, one person can literally change our Constitution and our freedoms. One person. With the 300 and close to 75 million people in this country, one person to the Supreme Court can change, alter, and destroy what our Constitution says and how it's applied. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm scared of that. I'm very afraid of that. One person's very left-wing ideology can take away the First Amendment's free speech. One person's ideology can take away this program and all the others that have dissenting views about liberalism and what this country is being led to by the Obama administration and hopefully not the Hillary administration. One person can take and stifle that Second Amendment about our right to bear arms. One person. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, they've got about everything else, but if we give up our guns, it's all over. Under any pretense, and of course they're trying to do away with ammunition, and they've gone to all the backdoor approaches too. And but with Scalia's death, it's made a big problem. But if you look at realistically, Hillary and Obama and Bernie Sanders would like to take all of the guns, as you know, and Hillary gets a pass on everything on the media. And but folks, realistically, the Supreme Court is supposed to decide on each case, but they have become very activist. They make law, and where's our Congress? They just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah.
Simpson and company back there, they don't do anything.
Yep.
They're just drawing their paychecks, basically. And this is what really irritates a lot of us, is that the Congress could, they have what they call appellate jurisdiction. And Congress can intervene on any of these cases and deny the Supreme Court to even make a ruling on any of these things, whether it be gun control or anything else. But they just do nothing. They just go along, rubber stamp, whatever's on. It's too taxing, I guess, to do that. But the other thing is, right now, realistically, it looks like it's going to be Hillary against Trump. And I'm getting a lot of the conservatives are saying, well, we're just going to have to, we can't really support Trump. And I'm saying, if you stay home, don't vote, don't support Trump, we will get Hillary's, because she's already got all the welfare votes, because all they vote for is their next welfare.
Well, let me jump in here just a little bit, Adrian. Adrian.
About the Constitution, freedoms, or anything else, or the defense of the country. All I care about is the next paycheck.
All right, let me jump in here a minute. Let me jump in here a minute and have a discussion with you. Number one, I've heard many people say the same thing to me. Well, I'm going to sit home. I'm not going to vote. I don't like Trump and I don't like Hillary. I'm just going to go and stay home. Well, that's the most, and I'm going to call it. I don't care if people are offended by this, because it's the truth. It's an idiotic, very senseless, and un-American attitude to accept, because right now, this election election is critical. I don't like Trump as far as some of his viewpoints and some of his actions and some of his verbiage. But I tell you one thing, I'm scared to death for my family and my grandchildren, etc., if Hillary takes and promotes 4 more years of this liberal doctrine that this country can't stand.
Well, my comment is, Trump is a fighter. He's a businessman. He loves this country. I truly believe this. Now, his past, he's got some things I don't agree with, and some of his positions. But he's taken on some hard issues like stopping the Muslim immigration into this country because of potential tariffs.
That's true.
And so forth. Closing the borders, which has taken away our jobs from Americans, and other things like that. He's against these so-called free trade agreements that have been killing our country. They're not free trade. They're just basically taking away of our independence and our jobs as well. So those issues are critical, and everybody's concerned about the economy. I think Trump is the winner there, and Hillary would just be more socialism, but it'll finish off the job that the transformation of this country that Obama has largely already accomplished. And we need to turn this thing around, and Trump is he'll take on Hillary. He already takes on the media. They don't know how to handle him because all the rest of these Republican candidates, Romney and McCain, so where they just play dead when the media comes to them.
Yeah, I got to...
folks, reconsider out there if you're not supporting Trump. There is really only one choice.
Absolutely.
If you for Hillary, you stay home. Hillary's liable to get elected.
Amen. Adrian, very good analogy, and thank you very much for your call this morning. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. Have a great day. Bye now.
He's right. I just had a gentleman say that to me the other day. I'm not going to vote. I'm going to stay home. Whoa, wait a minute. I just get enraged when I hear that. Now, if you're offended by this statement, it's not my problem. It's your problem. That is pure, unadulterated idiocy. We have a choice. There is a choice. And I am fearful of Hillary. Look at what she said about I'll just mention gun control again. It's the truth. She really wanted to know a lot more back in February about Australia's gun control to where it amounted to gun confiscation. She has come out and vocally said she wants to see a lot more of the gun control issues furthered with her administration. Look at the lies and innuendos and the money laundering and everything else under that woman. And do not sit there and tell me that, I don't want to vote because I don't like Trump. Listen. You've got to look to the future and say to yourself, here is a woman that has been around politics and has garnered all the money that politics can possibly put in her and Wild Bill's pocket. And now they want more. Do you want her really in the White House as the President of the United States? I think not. We're going to take a little break and come back. And boy, I've got one of my favorite guests coming on the program this next half hour, Marita Noon from Albuquerque, New Mexico, talking about the left and Tom Steyer's with his millions of dollars trying to sway the election. And then at 10:32, we have Ashley McGuire talking about the court case with the Supreme Court against the Little Sisters of the Poor and how the Obama administration did all they could to try to hurt them. All of this coming up in the next half hour. Stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Oh, my. Welcome back. Here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and a good Monday morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and that's Western Way Services as one of them. Always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Don't forget, too, our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric with rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I'm blessed. I mean, I've got the cream of the crop on this program, and this next lady I'm going to introduce is, of course, a member of that organization. And she's written books and blogs, and she knows more about energy and has forgotten more about energy than Obama ever knew. And that's, of course, Marita Noon from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How could I not be great after that wonderful introduction? I'm not sure that it's accurate, but, I'm honored by it anyway.
Well, I read everything you sent me on the card, didn't I?
You made a lot of it up. It's funny. I used to be on a radio show in Las Vegas quite a lot when my mother lived there, so I was in Vegas frequently, and I would be on a show with a host there, and he used to say, "You know how we'll know when we have the right president?" And he'd pause and he'd say, "When Marita Noon is Secretary of Energy."
There you go. And that's well stated. I commend him for his...
Not that I want that job, believe me. I have no interest in that job. I love what I do.
But what you do is a necessity, and we need more people to get involved. I mean, you're alerting us all to the facts that we're being abused, we're being lied to, we're being cheated, if you will, and we're not looking at anything that's really leading America forward with progress. We're looking at people like billionaire Tom Steyer that would like to put us back in the dark ages. Thus, I'd like you to discuss your comments about Tom Steyer and what he's doing with renewable energy.
Well, it's interesting, and let me back up, if I may, just for a moment, because you're right. It's odd, but really, I'm the only person in the entire country who's doing what I do. And that is focusing every week on energy policy, the economic impacts of our energy policy, and trying to fight the bad energy policy coming out of Washington. And that's kind of a bold statement to make, but as I speak at industry groups all over the country, and that includes coal mining groups, that includes royalty owners, that includes oil and gas. I'm leaving on Wednesday to go to Houston to speak for the Petroleum Accountants Society of Houston. I mean, there's all kinds of groups you have no idea about, but when I say I'm the only one doing this, no one disputes me, and I don't know of anyone else. I mean, there's oil has their trade association, coal has their trade associations, natural gas has theirs, refiners have theirs, and so forth. But there's nobody else out there who's really watching the news and on a daily or watching the news on a daily basis and keeping a consistent, thoughtful, deliberate, and honest energy dialogue in front of the media and the public. And I give myself that little plaudit because I need to let you know, Zeb, that due to the low price of oil, that our corporate donations have been drastically reduced or dried up. And literally this afternoon I am sending out a new fundraising plea. And if this plea is not effective, I may be gone by the end of this month.
Oh, I would not like to hear that at all. Let me ask you this. I mean, you are so effective and so knowledgeable about energy, and I was a little bit shocked when you just said on the radio that you are the only one of your type that's standing up for what you believe in. Why hasn't there been a recruitment by you or to create more people and clones like you?
Well, I mean, I would say a large part of it is money. I've done, and you've helped me report on it or get the word out, a lot of the green energy, crony corruption stuff that I have written on. I wrote with a citizen activist, really. She's a personal trainer by profession, award-winning bodybuilder, actually, Christine Lacadis. And she and I worked together for several years, and because I received a special grant to keep that work moving forward, and the grant went away. And Christine was someone, that really I was kind of grooming for that role, but the money has gone away, and that work had to discontinue. And as a result, my work may discontinue as well.
Now, when you say that funding is necessary, and it's absolutely a necessity if we're going to keep the word out in front of the public, who are the people that help fund you, and or what else can be done to make sure that you don't go away?
Well, it's interesting. I spoke in Farmington, New Mexico a week ago, and I kind of told this story, and I pointed to the aggressive anti-fossil fuel movement and the keep it in the ground protests that were happening throughout the globe, May 3 through 15, I believe it was. And while I was speaking in Farmington, I asked the people there, I said, if you want me to continue this, if you believe in what I'm doing, and my column is published every single week in the Farmington newspaper, I said, I need your help. I said, at the very least, wrap a $20 bill around your business card and hand it to me, and that will make you a member of CARE, a $20 annual membership. And we received, I came home with a couple $1,000s, which was a big help. Most of my founding donors are independent, small companies you've never heard of, oil companies in New Mexico. And many of them, some now are in bankruptcy and couldn't cut me a check if they wanted to. And others have been through several rounds of layoffs. And so when you look at that pool, individuals who care need to step up to the plate.
No, absolutely. I'm sitting here shaking my head, trying to figure out how we can better help you in your situation to better serve all of us. And it's almost kind of a...
That's why I had to just kind of lay it out there. I know you asked me about Tom Steyer, who on the other side is a billionaire who's putting millions of dollars into the 2016 election to promote climate change crisis agenda and the government policies that go with that. And I mentioned Christine Lakatos and the work that she and I have done on green energy crony corruption, and I quoted her in this week's column because through the work that she has done profiling dozens of projects that have received taxpayer dollars for green energy, the name Tom Steyer comes up over and over and over again. His fingerprints are all over these projects.
Let me ask you a little bit about the bill that Steyer helped pass. It's a bill that calls for 50% renewable energy by 2030. That's only 14 years from now, and California is already paying the highest in electricity rates. What in the world is this man trying to do besides break the bank?
Well, you have to wonder. He will profit from this legislation, and this bill that he passed was in California, and it did pass. And one of the interesting things is California, prior to the passage of this bill, California already had the highest, what is generally called, it's a little bit different in some states, but what is generally called a renewable portfolio standard. And that renewable portfolio for standard for most states, including my base of New Mexico, is 10% by 2010, 15% by 2015, and 20% by 2020. It's sort of just an arbitrary number because it sounded good. But California's is 33% of its energy from renewable sources by 2020. So they were already way out from the other states. And that's a big part of the reason why California has some of the most expensive electricity in the country, is that they've already, and the reports show that they're well on their way to meeting that 33%. And, when the government, the state legislatures, put these mandates out there, the utility companies have no option but to comply with the law. So they put in more renewable. They shut down some coal, perhaps perfectly functional coal-fired generation. They put in wind turbines and solar farms and begin getting their electricity from those. But when they shut down a perfectly good coal mine, or coal-powered plant, the cost of that plant has been amortized out, and it maybe had another 10 years left to go. Well, now that's a loss they have to eat. Then they have new investment. That's new investment they have to pay for. They go to their public regulators, and if the state has those, and they say, look, we did what you guys told us we had to do. It's changed our balance sheet dramatically. We now need a rate increase to pay for it. And so clearly they do deserve that rate increase, and the state regulators give it to them. But Steyer has investments, though he's masterful at hiding this. He has investments in a lot of these green energy projects, even though he actually made his fortune on coal, oil, and natural gas, particularly in Asia.
Right.
He's now fighting those very projects and has investments in green energy.
You know, I'm sitting here just scratching my head, Marita, because it makes no sense to me, and you can take this clear to the top with the Obama administration, and then, of course, Hillary's statements about we're going to kill the coal companies and kill off those jobs, etc. And here we have a functioning, well-oiled machine of power on the power grid, a functioning, well-oiled machine that is also economically viable to the consumers, and now they want to disrupt and blow up this whole thing and just literally put people into bankruptcy. It makes no sense why people aren't standing in line, waving their arms and shouting that every one of their leaders should be thrown in the Atlantic Ocean.
Well, I pretty much agree with you, but the answer is that a lot of these plans that President Obama put in place, and particularly kind of his parting shot of the Clean Power Plan, the impacts of these policies is only just now beginning to be felt. You know, when you say 10% renewable energy by 2010, well, that's not a huge amount. When you say 15% by 2015, that begins to be felt, but that's just now beginning to be felt. But when we get to 2020, realize those early adjustments, they were the low-cost ones to make. But you get into 20% by 2020, and we're going to see some major economic impacts, but that's not going to happen until 2020. The Clean Power Plan, should it go through, realize that it's held up by the Supreme Court now, who put a stay on it, so hallelujah. But, you know, those impacts aren't going to be felt. It'll take years for these policies to be fully implemented, and so people are just now beginning to see that increase in the price of their electricity, even though the price of natural gas, due to the abundance, is down dramatically. With the price of the fuel down dramatically, our electricity prices should be down. So that's another reason. The low cost of natural gas has kind of helped to balance out some of the increases in the renewable and made it less dramatic than it would be without the low-priced natural gas.
Let me ask you this. The last time you were on the program, we had a discussion about low per-barrel oil prices that were hurting everyone, including yourself. But let me ask this question. How high is up to the point where it starts to be an impedance on a growing economy?
I believe, and most people that I talk to agree, that if we can stay at the $50 to $60 a barrel range, which we haven't hit yet, we keep kind of teasing at it. Oil right now, as we speak, is at $47.76. But we keep kind of teasing that $50 mark. If it would get above 50 and stay there for a period of months, the oil industry would go back into the field, jobs would come back, revenues would come back, but it would be still a price point where gasoline is at a cost-effective point that would not hurt the consumer dramatically. Obviously, we all liked when we got into like $1.50 a gallon. Everybody, including me, liked that. But if we're in the under $2.50 and below kind of price point, which the $50 a gallon gasoline, a barrel gas, $50 a barrel oil, 50 to 60 would do. I think that's kind of a sweet spot.
Let me ask you this then. How does that $50 a barrel, as far as being an enticement for our economy to pick up, but what about the world trade on oil? What about the Middle East? What about their animus against us because of our increased oil production and their decreased oil production? This whole thing has volatility to it that could be a World War III, does it not?
It does. It does definitely have that. It doesn't look like it's heading to World War III anytime soon, but that is, we've got Saudi Arabia and Iran who hate each other, and Iran, they do some saber rattling pretty frequently. Today, I believe it was Bank of America came out and projected that with the increased production coming out of Saudi Arabia, you realize their economy is in very bad shape right now, and they have threatened increased production. Iran is increasing production. Today, Bank of America came out with a prediction of, I believe it was Bank of America, of $25 a barrel oil. And, there's experts, and when you listen to them, they make sense literally on both sides of the argument as to why it's going to go up to 50. Something landed in my inbox today that said it's $50 a barrel, the new low. There's logic behind that. There's logic behind $25 a barrel as well, and it remains to be seen what the Middle East is actually going to do.
When you talk about green energy and you talk about Tom Steyer's and you talk about his involvement money-wise with trying to aid and abet the next president of the United States, and then also labor unions. Now, tell me if I'm wrong on this, but I understand that labor unions are really upset with Tom Steyer's for the jobs and the status of jobs or the lack of jobs because of his green energy program. What's going on here?
Well, that is very true. Last week, the New York Times came out with an article. Now, I wrote my column on the weekend, published it on Monday. The New York Times came out with this on Tuesday, so it's not in my column. But the New York Times reported that Tom Steyer is giving a lot of money to a super PAC that involves a lot of the unions, and as a result, many of the heads of the trade unions, particularly Terry O'Sullivan, and I don't believe I have this up in front of me at the moment, but Terry O'Sullivan sent, he's Wayuna, and he sent a very sternly worded letter to the union that have gotten in cahoots with Tom Steyer, and calling, frankly, I don't think I can say it on the air, but calling the partnership with Tom Steyer equal to excrement.
You know, when you say that, and I would have liked to have used the full language, but in the case of staying on the air, I can't, and I appreciate your respect for that. But Tom Steyer...
I'm that way anyway, but occasionally when I'm quoting someone else, I'll go there.
I understand. But Tom Steyer has a man with a mission, and I took your tongue-in-cheek opening on the story that you had written. Of course, Tom Steyer is doing it all to save the planet. No, he's not, and I think most people should realize that he's looking at it for a green money venture with money in his pocket, and also that 7-letter word, control. Would you agree with me on that?
100%. 100%. By the way, I do now have in front of me the letter from Terry O'Sullivan, and it says he's the president of the 500,000 member laborers union, and he called the partnership a politically bankrupt betrayal of union members. And in his letter, assuming I can get page 2 up here quickly, it says Tom Steyer and his allies oppose an all of the above energy policy that not only creates good union jobs, but offers to keep the lights on and meet our nation's energy needs, even as we transition to a cleaner, more sustainable future. His vision of leaving oil, natural gas, and other fossil fuels in the ground kills jobs, drives up energy costs, and threatens to strangle our economy. As a hedge fund billionaire, he may not feel the pain of such self-righteous, patronizing, unrealistic, and damaging policies, but our members and all American families do. And then he says, quote, leave it in the ground is not a viable energy policy. It is political excrement.
Absolutely. Marita, one final thought here, and I want to revert back to about a month and a half ago when you were on the program, and we were talking about university and college students with this leave-it-in-the-ground mentality, the millennials that really, they haven't got the common sense that God gave a goat, but yet they're out backing in this, and their professors are leading them down this path of no energy, what's going on here that we may have a chance to change? How do we go about changing the concept that these kids are learning in colleges?
Well, that's a bigger question than I think we have time. I mean, sadly, an entire generation of kids have now young adults have been brought up on this mindset, and we see that in their support for Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is the one who co-sponsored the Keep It in the Ground bill in the Senate.
Right.
And that's his support base. So it's hard to say, but what I can say is, back to Tom Steyer for a moment. Tom Steyer has been backing that divestment, wanting to get colleges to no longer have their funds invested in fossil fuel stocks. And Steyer's own university rejected that plan. So that's a bit of encouragement there.
I am always blessed to have you on the program. The lovely Marita Noon with the book called Energy Freedom and her blog. By the way, tell everybody how they can read your weekly blog.
Well, it's on Breitbart.com, Townhall.com, American Spectator, and many other sites, including my own, which is EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org. And if you go to EnergyMakesAmericaGreat.org, at the bottom left-hand corner, there is a donate button. And appreciate anybody helping out with that.
All right, Marita, you're always welcome here, and thank you so much for your great insight on what's happening with energy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jeff.
The lovely Marita Noon from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I urge everybody to go to her website. I do not want to see her and the hard work that she's put forth go to waste. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. I want to remind you on Thursdays, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, and it's sponsored by two wonderful locations, the Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, every Tuesday tomorrow is Special Grandparents Discount Day. You can save money, and don't forget all the presents are gift-wrapped free, along with all the Cherokee and Dickey scrubs. Oh, my goodness, it's a wonderful store. A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley for all your outpatient surgeries. And, oh, by the way, don't forget they've got the only machine in all of Magic Valley that can help correct glaucoma. Call them today at 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you on Thursdays school days in Cassia County. Right now we're going to take a little break, send it back over to our main studios. We'll be back with our next guest in about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Hi, thank you very much. Good morning for our last half hour, and we're going to get right into it. And I have with me on the telephone the lovely Ashley McGuire, and she is going to talk all about a big story that's been in the news for the last couple of weeks and months called basically the Little Sisters of the Poor taking on the Supreme Court. Good morning, Ashley. How are you?
I do not have her on the phone, sir. I was not able to get a hold of her, but I did leave her a voicemail.
Well, that doesn't do me any good.
Me didn't either.
You keep trying that number that I gave you. Did you get an answering machine with her name on it?
I did. It went straight to the voicemail, and that's the reason why I left it, is because it's, I guess maybe her phone's off.
Okay. Keep trying that number, would you please, and we'll see what else we can find out. All right?
Yes, sir.
In the interim, I guess I'm going to sit here and say, oh, well, then give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are about any one of the stories that we have talked talked about so far for this morning, so give me a jingle. I do have another topic that I can talk about until we reestablish with Ashley McGuire. And Deanne, if you could help me on that, I'd appreciate it out in the other room. On Saturday, they ran the Preakness, and it was a great, great race under extremely muddy conditions, and Exaggerator won the race, and that horse absolutely, and the jockey did an amazing job of getting through the mud and the muck and going to the finish line as the number one horse. However, during the course of the preliminary races leading up to the Preakness, there were some very unfortunate incidents that took place, and I'd like to talk to you about those and get your response. In one of the races, very unfortunate, but a horse did break its leg and had to be euthanized. And then after one of the preliminary races, one of the horses suffered a cardiac arrest and also was euthanized. Now, we had two instances of racehorses that, very unfortunate, not through abuse or neglect or anything like that, it just happens. The point I want to make here is that millions and millions of animals, horses, are used every single day in this United States of America. And for that matter, across the world, the numbers are staggering. And whether it's racing, or whether it's cuttings, or whether it's ropings, or whether it's show jumping, millions and millions of animals are used for those events. Now, I'm not saying, and I never have, that all safety and training precautions should not be used. Absolutely they should be. And, of course, the best thought is to the animal. And you'd be a crazy fool not to adhere to the best care of those animals because of the extreme cost of these animals. But what I am saying is now that after these two very, very terrible but yet low in numbered fatalities that were involved in the racing on Saturday, PETA has stepped in, and they want to start all investigatory means and procedures to try to come down on the trainers and the owners and the racing officials, and I think it's absolutely absurd. What are your thoughts about this? Because little by little, animal rights groups like PETA are trying to take over and get a bigger toehold, and as a matter of fact, take over the entire ladder and rule and tell us what can be done, what can't be done, what can be used, what can't be used, and what is abuse, and what constitutes abuse. They have no clue. Now, I have said on this program many, many times, and I'm going to stand behind this statement, that they have a bottom line that they'd like to adhere to, which is a no-use policy whatsoever. Now, notice I said no-use policy whatsoever. That is their bottom line, and that's absolutely what they're trying to garner and gain for. And the word abuse does not come in when I use my animals here at my roping arena. Absolutely not. They're much too expensive. And why in the world would someone want to go out and try to injure or hurt a $10,000 horse or more? Why would somebody want to go out and hurt or injure roping cattle that right now are at prices of close to $1,000 per head? I mean, you border on idiocy for even intimating that may be a thought. And then when you're talking about racehorses, you're talking about millions. You're talking about all the pedigrees, all the stud fees, all the care, all the training. You're talking millions and millions of dollars. And when these tragedies happen, which they are tragedies, and to have other groups jump in and point their finger and say, well, we're going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to start investigating you. We're going to see if the trainers did this. We're going to see if there was a lack of care here. Give me a break. Go back under the rock that you climbed from underneath. Folks, we've got to put our foot down. Or, very possibly in the near future, there won't be any 4-H livestock shows. There won't be any sheep that are shown. There won't be any dairy projects or beef projects. There won't be any horse projects. There won't be anything connected with animals. That is their goal. Now, don't take this lightly. We did years ago, and it encroached on us in this country like a cancer. And it's only going to get worse. Let me have your calls, please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, did you do any good trying to call her back? I need to know.
No, sir, and I even tried it on both phones, and it still went to her voicemail.
This does not bode well for those of us that are trying to run a talk show. So give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What are your thoughts about this? Little by little, whether it's the New York City Kennel Club going to have a dog show, they don't like that. Number two, whether it's a horse show, whether it's anything to do with animals, it might be just nothing more than showing some sheep at a fair, like I said a moment ago. These people want to stop all of this. They're unknowledgeable. They really haven't got a clue, but all they can think of is soliciting your funds, putting it in their pocket, and then trying to stop whatever they deem necessary. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yeah, well, my friend, how are you?
Perfectly. At the 4-H and shows, dog shows, and pony shows, and all this kind of thing. What it will look like in a communist state. You described it perfectly. And that's what's happening.
You know, you have been a student of what happened during the Bolshevik Revolution, etc., and I'm really interested in hearing when you listen to my words about stopping any and all, whether it's a kennel club dog show or whether it's a horse show, a rodeo, whatever it might be. How did you draw that analogy into what happened during the Bolshevik Revolution and what they're trying to do today?
Well, I happen to know personally, I mean, I wasn't there, but my great-grandparents were, and that's how we ended up in America, was we got out before you couldn't get out. But that's what happened, so there you are.
What was, in your studies, what were the involvements of farming and agriculture, or for that matter, any involvement of livestock use back in that era? What happened, Gary? Explain that to me.
Well, it took, Lenin dies in 1924, and then the battle is on politically, and then Stalin takes over, and in 1928 he collectivizes everything, meaning that all the farmers and the local people all got together, were banded together to build barns that would hold 1,000 or up to 10,000 head of horses or cows or sheep or chickens. And then everyone was allotted 10 or 12 cows or horses to be taken care of and to feed, and then to take them out into work. And you no longer owned them, but now you were taking care of them because they belonged to the state. So that's exactly what happened, and the land was never given back.
Gary, do you think that the general public today understands the ramifications and repercussions of what these insidious groups like PETA and HSUS are trying to do? Let me give you an example, and it dovetails into so many facets of our economy. Number one, the feed business would go awry. All those people would go broke. Number two, the insurance business would go asunder. Number three, all transportation would stop and cease and desist. Trailer sales, pickup sales, etc. The list goes on. Clothing for those events. I mean, the material and the tack used in those events. The train. I mean, there are so many people in a devastated society of absolutely not having a job anymore or goods and services to sell. It would throw our economy into a tailspin. As a matter of fact, the horse business alone is the third largest agricultural business in this United States. And look at that if it was put asunder.
Well, the horse racing business in Ukraine in the 1920s, in the teens, or I should say in the teens and the turn of the century, was big business. A member of my extended family, the Shoresman family, had race horses and sold them to the Moscow racetracks in St. Petersburg and to Odessa. and they were in the know, but they were the first ones to get shot because they had too much money and too expensive horses. So the people that are, all of these organizations that you just talked about are short-sighted, narrow-sighted, narrow-minded, and they haven't even begun to step out of the box. Now, they think they're going to save the little dog and the little cat and the little horse and all this thing. What they don't understand is what they're pushing for is something much larger, which is a government that will take them over and throw them under the bus eventually, too.
You know, and there is the key point of your discussions with me on this program in the past and right now to today. I mean, evidently, most of our society is wearing a sign on their forehead that says, basically, I'm stupid and I'm getting dumber every day, because they don't look, because one tree's standing in the way of the forest. They don't understand about the control issues. They don't understand what the government is taking away from us. They don't understand how the change in the Supreme Court might diminish our value of our Constitution. What is it going to take to wake up the general public, Gary?
A real tragedy and a downright hellish war, I suppose, because it's just look at this young kid who grew up in America and goes over to join the ISIS, and finds out that they've got nothing but hate and blood in their eyes, and he watches them carry heads around on sticks, and then he wants to come home crying, wow, wow. Well, that's what these people are doing, and they don't understand that there are powers behind the Communist Manifesto, the powers, the books from Engels and Marxists. The leaning is that you must concede and you must all be alike and be the same. And the frightening thing is the power of the Senator Sanders has, and the amount of people that want to elect him as president, and his agenda purely, where are they going to go to school if the communists take over? There is going to be no school. Hello?
You know, what you just said is something that I've been talking about on my program for months and months. Whether it was Bernie Sanders with his clueless millennials following him like going over a cliff, or on the other side of the coin, whether it's the Trump campaign and those people are going to follow him till the end. Either one of those great groups, whether they have 40 some odd million people or 3 million people, they're going to be disenfranchised come election time when they don't get what they want. Our country really is in a state of turmoil right now, is it not?
Of course it is. I'm the third generation born in America, and there are a generation right behind me in my own family who have no clue what I'm talking about. They couldn't care less, and they could care even less where they came from. All they want is me, and what they have right now in front of them. This past week, the Minidoka County Museum, in accordance with about 4 different schools from Raft River, Paul, and Rupert, got together at the museum, and it was a show and tell time. I happened to do one for Indian artifacts that were shown right here that came right from this county. And I can't begin to tell you how many of those kids had no clue who Shoshone-Bannock were. They thought that the Miamis came from here. They didn't know about the state of Idaho as a territory when it became a state, when Minidoka County became a county. They had never been to Kaimana Butte. Very few of them had ever been to Minidoka Dam. And they had no clue of things, local history. And I kept saying to them, if you want to know where you're going, maybe you should find out where you came from. And it's dawned on me that their parents had not taken these kids around and shown them anything, and therefore the kids are not asking questions.
Well, you know, you mentioned about the parents, but, you know, it's a chain of command, if you will, that's lacking. I mean, whether it's the parents not taking them around and showing and telling, but then also it's the school system. It seems like it's a bother to teach about our past and our history. It's a bother to try to teach about our American flag and our Constitution. Values, and I get really irate, and I dare people to come up and tell me to my face why those things should not be back in the schools.
I couldn't believe how many kids didn't know their grandparents' names.
What was that again, Gary? I lost you there for a moment.
I said I can't believe how many kids had no clue what their grandparents' names were.
And that's really the truth. But how? How in the world can we turn this thing around? I was shocked and in awe when you were on the program a couple of times talking about the Bolshevik Revolution and how it dovetails and absolutely follows the same path as to where this country, America, is headed today.
The politicians in Russia were just as mean and nasty to one another as they were. The Tsars, the Romanovs, had ruled Russia for 300 years. And pretty soon they got so intimidated, and stupid things like Rasputin coming along and could upset the whole apple cart. And then they were ruthlessly killing one another, and that's where you got the division between the Red Army and the White Army. And pretty soon, and the people are all caught in between, and you couldn't control what was going on because they were so ruthless. And besides that, the country was unarmed. They could go into these villages and just raise hell and terrorize everybody because they were unarmed.
Your point, and I've only got a few minutes left here, Gary, and I thank God that you called in this morning. But your point about...
now I need to go to work.
But now your point about unarmed is something that needs to be discussed, because I said earlier this morning, and if you were listening, you heard my comments. I said that right now we are at the whim and the beck and call of one person. One person's ideology, and that one person could be named to the Supreme Court, and that one person could shift the balance of the teeter-totter effect in the Supreme Court to where our First Amendment could die, our Second Amendment could die, our Constitution could be revamped and rewritten. One person, Gary, that's how scary it is right now.
Well, absolutely. It's divide and conquer, and it all comes along very slowly, and a lot of people are asleep at the wheel. They can't think of what's coming next, or if the good check is going to bounce or not, or if they're going to get another paycheck. And then one day, when they find out, you go out. My mother used to say there was only two things she needed to know when she woke up in the morning, is if she knew who she was, and if we were still America, it'd be a pretty good day. But I see that it's highly possible, and I learned it from my own family when I connected with those who had stayed in Russia and survived World War II. They had no idea if they were going to live through the night, let alone see the daylight, for years and years and years.
One final thought here, and I'm jumping ahead here, Gary, but today we may hear remarks Obama makes in Hiroshima regarding the use of the atomic bomb, and I'm telling you what, Gary, I think he's going to absolutely upset the entire apple cart of history, especially with our veterans and all of our military families, if this man apologizes. What are your thoughts, quickly?
Well, I don't see anybody marching in the streets. A few years back when the Tea Party got going, they marched over the Haber-Paul Bridge about 4 times, and then it was dead in the water. And until we get out in the streets and march and da-da-da-da-da, it isn't going to happen. I don't know what it's going to take to make people get scared as hell and do something.
Gary, I really do appreciate your calling in this morning. God bless you, my dear friend. You saved my bacon as far as having a guest that didn't show up, and you filled in very nicely. Thank you so much.
Great, and you can save my bacon by sending me a picture.
Okay. Would you please call and remind me later? My memory is great, but it lasts only about 30 seconds.
That's all right. I just thought I'd throw that in as a segue.
All right, Gary. God bless you, man. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Wow. I just can't thank Gary enough. Gary Shoresman, noted historian and many, many times a book author, and he's working on some new ones right now. Thank you very much. Wow, I got to get the weather on here quickly, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, your hometown meat cutter, Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Spring weather for most of this week, but it's not going to be too shabby. Looks like mostly sunny skies as we kick off today. High of 63 tonight, low of 42 tomorrow. It is going to be mostly cloudy, slightly breezy, but hopefully no rain showers. High of 63 with an overnight low of 43. Back to partly cloudy and 65 for Wednesday. Thursday, mostly sunny and 67, and maybe for the weekend, a few rain showers. Highs are going to be at the low 60s. That's your weather for Zebeth Duran.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to everybody by Scarrows Meats. Beach. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Good people. 331 North Road, Jerome. 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I got to tell you what I've got on the program scheduled for tomorrow morning at 9:30. I have worked to try to get this to fit into my schedule, and he is going to be on the program tomorrow. You have probably seen this man on many newscasts and also talk shows, conservative talk shows, Larry Wingett. And when you look at Larry Wingett, you'll always know him. He's got one of those Western shirts from the old days, like the Porter Wagner shirts on and everything. He is extremely conservative. He's right up our alley. And he's going to talk about kids today and what's happening with parents and the kids situation. That is going to be at 9:30 tomorrow morning, and I am looking forward to that interview. It's going to be really good, along with Frosty Woldridge, and we're going to have Dr. History, and we're also going to have Patty Shockey on the program tomorrow talking about the Minnecasia Relay for Life. So we've got a gangbusters program tomorrow. Should be really interesting, and we need you to be involved. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for summertime travel. My goodness, many of their tires are on sale right now for your cars and your pickups and your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, camper trailers. I mean, they've got it all. They've got it all. And the free pre-trip safety check, a visual inspection of many of the important components of your car. Hey, stop in today and check out the front end alignments and the shocks and the struts. And, of course, all the batteries. They got a battery for every need. These really are your friends and neighbors serving you with safe driving. Absolutely. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely. Don't forget Lunch Bunch coming up this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant. Amen. We're going to be there at 11:30, and our thanks go out for all the gift certificates that'll be given away as door prizes. Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Walmart, and Stokes Groceries. Thank you so much. It's going to be a great lunch bunch. And at this time, I'd also like to say we lost another dear friend to our lunch bunch. He was a dear friend to Deanne and I, and a dear friend to the lunch bunch in general, and that was Warren Miller. And to Warren and his family, all I can say is rest in peace, my dear friend, and thank you for all your friendship for the many years. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. Remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be.